Hello and welcome to Aunty Lou's Hour. This podcast is for people living with HIV, their friends, family, and colleagues. We want people living with HIV to know that they are not alone. In this episode, I talk to Mark Mills, the founder of my.hiv. Please show your support by sharing, commenting, and hitting the like button. Together, we can end stigma and thrive with HIV. Thanks for watching. Hi, Mark. I'm so
Hiya,
glad.
Lou.
I'm so glad that we finally meet.
Listen, do you know when we connected?
Yeah,
You said at the end of our first chat, like there's people that come into your life for a
yeah,
reason, a season, or a lifetime.
yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what one of those it is yet, but I have to say one thing for sure. You are most definitely here for a reason for my life. That's for sure.
Oh, I bow to the divine in you, brother. I really love our banter. But listen, I want to kick off and I want to ask you, how did it go on Thursday, last week, Thursday?
You're getting me to fess up now. So this
Yeah,
was my interview. Um, a couple of months ago, I nominated myself actually, but I know
yeah,
that the wonderful lady that I look after in my professional world, she's called Sharon Whale, and she would have
yeah,
accepted it anyway. Um, I was nominated for Personal Assistant of the Year in the UK,
yeah,
and I had an
yeah.
interview for it last week, and I am a finalist.
Ooh, this is so exciting.
And
And I
also, as part of that, I didn't realise until after, um, because of that, I'm also up for Outstanding Achievement of the Year.
there are so many reasons I am like so gassed about this. But I saw you on LinkedIn because for me and living with HIV, when I first found out I had HIV, I didn't see anybody that I could relate to. And when I say that, I'm talking about in the professional field.
Ah, yeah.
There weren't many professionals, do you know what I mean, out there
I,
talking about
I'm,
HIV.
I'm saying I knew nobody in like the business
Yeah,
profession, um,
yeah.
either.
And, I always say that added a different dimension of stigma, a different layer of stigma for me, because here I am, with my Louboutins, right? And my pearl necklace. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm senior management leadership. And all the while, I've got this really heavy, heavy shame that I'm holding on to
And
about
you
HIV.
exactly. And when we talked, we discussed this. Like you held on to that stigma, that shame, for a couple of decades,
Years.
right?
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a decade. Like that's a very long time to hold on to that. And being a black woman as well,
Yeah, yeah.
being a woman of color, that's another dimension that you have.
And you know what? You know what, right, Mark? And part of the reason why I think I held on to it, there's lots. I had kids and got a bit of Catholic guilt going on there and all sorts of stuff. But you know, one of the reasons why I came what I say out and started talking about HIV is I understand it's bigger than HIV. It's not just about HIV, it's about living well, it's about kind of being
It
free.
is.
So
It is.
why did you come out?
Well, I think there's no one answer to that question. Um, you know, in the year previous to the pandemic,
Yeah,
I'd actually had a full-on mental health collapse.
yeah.
Um, and I did the journey that I needed to do. It was a tough one. But I got myself back to a place that I thought physically, mentally, that's as
Yeah,
good as I'm gonna get.
yeah,
When the pandemic hit,
yeah,
and it was a tough time for us all, and we all had,
yeah,
one of our CEOs from my business, he is the CEO of our North America. And in the
yeah,
pandemic, I will never forget it. He described the pandemic as we are all in the same sea, but we are all
Yeah.
in very different boats.
Yeah, I like that.
So the boat that I was in, the pandemic came, and then my mental health really began to go down the toilet again. And I got through that bit, and then I decided, do you know what, actually, for the work that I'd done on myself in this time, I thought I'm going to go and follow a dream, because I had a dream for 20 years, and that was to live and work in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And
Tell me about that. Yeah.
I know, right? And I know when connecting with you, you now spend half your year in Romania.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we can, we know that vibe and that feeling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I did, like, it was the most hugest thing I'd ever done. And I talked to my employer, Oliver Marketing Limited. I talked to Sharon Whale, is the lady
Yeah.
that I'm the executive assistant to. We
Yeah.
worked out, and I went over to the Netherlands. But 6 months before I did that, I started getting unwell. And I had a couple of really nasty rounds of laryngitis.
Yeah.
And it was, I think they described it as infective laryngitis. And because it was
Yeah.
50 times, I couldn't get to see a GP. They just kept prescribing.
Mm.
I went for a HIV test as well. That came
Yeah.
back clear.
That came back clear.
Came back clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was getting more and more consistently unwell, but moving country, moving home
Yeah,
is
of
a
course.
very big thing for anyone.
It is. It is.
And I landed in the Netherlands, but I was seriously unwell, but I didn't really realize how unwell I was. And
Yeah.
I went straight to the GP actually on like day 3.
Yeah.
And then on day 10, the GP told me, Mark, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're HIV positive.
Mm.
And you're carrying 2 major infections, and you've been having these things for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was seriously unwell.
Yeah.
So that's that first part of the journey.
Wow. That's just like,
But to your question, how are you so positive?
yeah.
I have to say, I've been positive. Next month is actually the only 2-year anniversary that I've found that I'm living with HIV.
Yeah.
And you know what, Lou? That work that I did on myself, like that mental health work, all leading up
Yeah.
to learning I was HIV positive, was only the beginning for me.
Yeah.
Because I describe my HIV in 2 very distinct ways. And that is, it is the single most horrific, frightening thing that has ever happened to me.
It's been true.
I've had it's relative and everyone's life is their own, but when I was a young man in my early 20s, I had a considerable amount of personal family trauma.
Yeah.
And I thought that was horrific.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I that hands down. Yet
Yeah.
HIV has been the most incredible, amazing,
Yeah.
positive,
Yeah. It is.
it's almost as if it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I round that up with this phrase, is that my HIV has allowed me to finally come home to myself in a way that I never even thought possible.
I love that. I love that. And I absolutely love that. I say HIV empowered me to be me.
You know
Isn't
what?
that?
I
Yeah.
hear this. I hear this. You're the first person actually that I properly connected with, and have an empathetic link with naturally. But the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
person that delivers it in the same way as me.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
the single most positive influence that's ever been on my life. And
Yeah.
the reasons are many and varied. It's wonderful.
Because don't you think, right, Mark, right, with HIV, you sink or swim? I had that choice. What are you going to do, Lo? Are you going to keep hiding who you are? And I hid who I was through loads of fags, loads of booze,
Yeah.
loads of shopping, the
Self
sales.
Loads of self-destructive behaviours.
Yeah. So I could continue to do that. And I'm being honest, I got kind of fed up and bored and hungover, you know, and
Was you tired of being tired?
I was fed up of being tired and I was fed up of somebody finding out. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. You know, I'm just gonna have to
Uh,
find a way to be comfortable enough to be able to, if it comes out, I'm not gonna be so like someone's got something holding over me. I had to come out with it. And I find that's a little bit like mental health, isn't it? When you have mental health issues or something that's not right about yourself. And that's why I say, Mark, it's bigger than HIV. It's not just about HIV because when you feel there's something not quite right about who we are as people,
yeah.
there's, you know, so we're hiding, we're not happy with. It's about how you live with that in a comfortable way. And in my experience, finding that freedom and thriving with the thing that I was so ashamed of, so embarrassed of, the thing that held me back is the thing that helped. Once I kind of learned to live with that, it's unbelievable.
Do you think that you would describe that, Lou, as potentially HIV delivered to you a moment where you could look yourself in the mirror and
Yeah,
gently, quietly, and humbly say to yourself, I'm okay with me?
absolutely. I've
That
gone
is,
goose pimply now. I've gone goose pimply now.
that's my experience. Our journeys are different,
Yeah,
but yet
yeah,
the connector with us both and with many people that I find that live with HIV is
yes,
it all starts with you. It all starts with you. And when I was going through my journey of treatment,
yeah,
um, this last couple of years, what I realized is that whilst in the UK, HIV healthcare services are nothing
yeah,
short of fantastic, I have to say.
yeah,
What they do in the UK NHS and sexual health services is that there's a historical layover in the way that they engage in their treatment. And
yeah,
so it's got stuck in like yonder year that's gone, when actually what I figured is that it actually all starts with you, then
yeah,
your HIV, then it's your journey, it's your way, which is why which is
yeah,
one of the reasons why I created and launched my.hiv on Instagram.
yeah, yeah,
I felt there was a need to really bring HIV very much in today and connect with
yeah,
mass populations in today's world. And hence the strapline, your HIV, your
yeah,
journey and your way.
yeah.
Everybody does this differently.
No, absolutely. And that's why I connected with you. You know, the way that you put that message across in such a real way that I felt that you were someone that I wish I met all those years ago, 10 plus years ago, you
You know
know?
what? I remember that was your first comment on
Yeah,
my videos. And do you know what? I have to say, Lou, and to anybody watching this,
yeah,
my introductory video really doesn't do it justice, but I want to say it here if you don't mind, Lou. I know this sounds like self-promotion.
yeah. No, you go,
I
mate.
don't mean it that way. I really don't. I'm no healthcare professional at all. Do I know the ins and outs of HIV? No. Um, I am not in that space, but what I
Yeah,
am is a man that learned I'm living with HIV. It's been the toughest challenge of my entire life.
yeah,
Nearly
yeah,
actually
yeah,
took my life on. I nearly actually took my life on 2 occasions in the last 2 years, um,
yeah,
of how difficult it's been in different ways. And what I want to do, which no act is a selfless act, I believe. It helps me to do this stuff. But
mm,
also, I remember those nights, particularly in the first year when I was sitting here in my little flat by the seaside, and I was in the darkest place possible for my,
yeah,
and I thought, if there was someone that I could connect with who had the same
yeah.
thing,
Exactly. Yeah,
I don't want to talk to anyone, but if I could just see someone
yeah,
that looked like me in the spirit
exactly.
sense, that would have helped. And I couldn't, and there was nothing that I could see that was talking to me at that time. So that's why I launched it. Because, not because it's desperately sad, because there are some, like, excuse my language, like effing, like, miracle things that happen to you when you
Yeah.
but I want people to know that there is someone that recognizes them in this world.
You know, before we go on to how we kind of got through, or how you got through with kind of living with HIV, you know, you just said something there. You said when you was in that dark place, you know, those dark places, and there are many things in life that can bring somebody into a very dark place. And
I completely agree.
you know, like you, when I found out I had HIV, you know, I remember I was on the sofa, I lay on the sofa by myself. You know, I didn't go to work that day, didn't tell anyone, and I was looking at my will, making sure the kids are going to be taken care of, because I thought I was, you know, I thought I was a goner, you know, I thought
Yeah,
make
because
sure
you've got 2 children, haven't you?
three. I've got
Yeah,
three
that was
children,
it.
you know,
You've got 3.
three, you know,
And
and
like PS, you still don't look old enough, love.
oh, stop it.
Carry
But
on, sorry, mate.
I've got three adult children, and you know, I lay on that sofa, and I thought, you know, my life was over. And there are many times when people are what we call on the floor, and people are in that dark place, and it could be HIV, it could be divorce, could be the end of a relationship, it could be another STI, it could be you've lost your job, it could be you're in debt,
The
it could
many,
be
yeah, the
many,
many
many things
various, right?
that you are on that floor. But for you and for me, the darkest night of the soul was when we found out we had HIV. Sorry, I've got to turn my alarm clock, keeps going off, right?
I can't hear
So,
that, by the way, so you good.
thank God for that, right? And so how did you, if you had to say in a nutshell, like how you got through that? What are the things that you done to kind of get through that?
So I think I was born, Lou,
Yeah,
with determination in my soul. I just think I was born that way.
yeah,
Yeah, I had to make, within the first hour of being diagnosed, I had to make a decision, and really quickly,
yeah,
because, you know, I'd come through a mental health collapse. I'd then, for the first time in my life, put myself properly first and followed
yeah,
my biggest dream that I had in my life. And that, within the space of 72 hours, ended. And I had to make a decision. And that was, I made the decision that HIV is going to be the making of me. Because if I didn't
yeah,
decide that then and there, I would have opened the window in my little place in the Netherlands, and
yeah.
I would have walked out of that. And I don't say that to be dramatic.
Yeah,
I say that because in that moment, I had to be nothing but completely honest with myself. And so,
yeah,
in a nutshell, I had to make the decision. What do I do with this information? And I need to make the decision now. And my decision
yeah,
was HIV is going to be the making of me, and I will do.
yeah. So I wanted to ask you something about LGBTQ, you know, and you. But before I do, you know, I remember that when I had HIV, when I found out I had HIV, Mark, and like being a black woman, being a black woman within the workplace, right? Um, um, and being the only black woman around the boardroom table, so to speak. So, number one, I was always around the board. Well, a lot of the time, I was the only black person sitting around that table. And then I was the only black woman sitting around that table. And, you know, there were many people, probably, you know, black members of staff that were maybe looking at me saying, look, you know, one of them's actually, you know, made it to a position within the workplace. And that feeling of, yeah, but now I've got this HIV, I just felt this huge sense of embarrassment, you know?
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
in my career, I got my career to a certain stage, and then I've got um HIV. It felt like it was a double. And then being a mother, you know, all what comes with being a mother of three children, divorced. So, what would my children and all their friends say? I had that kind of added baggage, which was really, really heavy. So, I remember talking to this geezer. and he was saying that he's gay, and coming out as being gay was hard enough. That was hard enough.
Mhm.
And then finding out he had HIV was like another coming out. It was another whammy. What is your journey around that kind of situation?
Okay, there's two ways. I'm going to answer that in two ways.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about being a woman of color,
Mm,
professional around the boardroom,
mm,
and the
mm.
only woman, then I would strongly urge you
Yeah.
to look up a lady called Amina Falarin.
Mm-hmm.
She is the UK Group CEO and Global Head of Equity, Inclusion and Diversity.
Yeah.
She works for my company, and
Oh, wow.
she is the only Black senior leader
Mm.
able at the moment. And she actually wrote the industry's first anti-racist policy.
Oh, wow.
So go look her up first and
Yeah, I
foremost.
will. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I came out when I was 14 to my mum and my dad was alive at that point. Uh,
Yeah.
because, looking to that, what I said, I think I was born with determination.
Yeah.
But that was when the HIV/AIDS epidemic adverts were out, which
Wow.
around that time.
Yeah.
And my determination to be me, has it been forever present. So the
Yeah.
times were very different then. So that was, my coming out journey wasn't incredibly difficult from a family perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mum and my dad, the end line, they had some troubles in their head around it, which were very much based on the time around AIDS,
Of course. Yeah.
um, but the "you are loved" was ever present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was fine, and I turn 50 next year. It's been 2 years since
Wow.
learning that I was living with HIV, and coming at the HIV was easier for me
Yeah.
because
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
for me, HIV was the moment of my life where all bets were off. I have to do me, or
Yeah.
else I can't exist in
Mm,
this world if I don't do me.
mm,
It was
mm,
that clear
mm,
cut. So back to
mm,
that first hour, those two decisions that I made. One, I'm going to get well, I'm going to live, and two, HIV is going to be the making of me, because
mm.
that's the very stark truth for me. So HIV actually was a whole lot easier than
Yeah.
coming out as a gay man. And I don't wear my identity anyway on my sleeve.
Yeah. You know what, right, Mark? So this is what I can see with you. So you've got this kind of I could imagine actually, I kind of pictured it when you said, as a young man, you was always kind of, relatively assertive and you knew your mind and what you wanted. And I can see that with you because of, the work that you do now and how you articulate yourself. You've got a certain drive, a certain confidence
Right.
within you. Yeah, you have
Exactly.
that. So that is why I kind of really welcome the fact that you're so open about your mental health and how it was a struggle when you found out you had HIV and how you had to find a way to kind of rise through those ashes, because social media portrays us, and within the workplace we can be portrayed as these confident, strong, individuals, but actually um life throws some curveballs and lessons at us.
It does indeed. And you know what, Lou, the pandemic, I truly believe, for business and for people that,
Mm,
working professionals,
yeah,
for a statement across it, I think the pandemic delivered working professionals what it needed, which was
yeah,
we now today understand what we need as working professionals to
yeah,
work at our best. And
yeah,
that
yeah,
requires that, we now recognize that you bring all of you to your profession. You don't just
yeah,
you know, you accentuate and you nuance very specific parts in your professional world. Yeah, you do bring you bring all of you.
Yeah.
And I think the pandemic really made us realize that all of you is what you bring to your professional life.
100%. It's like recovery, isn't it? Recovering parts of you. So
Yeah.
what, so in a nutshell, what did you do to live well?
So I'm so glad you asked me that, because this body of mine, right?
Mm.
This is what another
All
thing
of
that
this.
HIV has taught me about myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That this body, the biggest influence on it is my mind,
Here,
right?
here. Here,
It really
here.
is. But I also have a connecting, equally relevant nuance. And that I could eat tubs of lard for breakfast,
Yeah.
lunch, and dinner
Yeah.
and not put that on.
Uh-huh.
But if I see a pattern on my kitchen roll, I will lose 2 stone, right? So, right? So what I
I love
learned,
it.
what I learned is how to eat the way that my mind
Oh.
wants me to eat.
Ah.
So I learned that I don't have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner like the
Ah.
world. What I learned
Yeah.
my body is that I eat what I want, when I want, and how much I want, and it don't matter what it is. Take the
Ah.
pressure off. So that way I can help maintain my body better.
Great. Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
trying to make that healthy, nutritious.
Yeah.
And so what I learned is that my body needs a little bit more support from that
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
a physical health sense. So, you know, I take supplement drinks that help deliver nutrients, vitamins, minerals, you know, that I might not be getting through with the foods that I'm eating.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one thing. What I learned is that what everybody knows really is that exercise is good for you, is good for your
Yeah.
mental health. And but with the way that my body has been working these last couple of years, you know, I was so seriously unwell at the beginning, and it's taken me a long while to get back to this point.
Mm.
But what I also learned is that I don't have to set myself unachievable goals with exercise.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so, you know, recognizing that just going for a walk is going to be enough. Getting
Mm.
outside. I mean, I'm lucky enough. I live overlooking the beach and the sea, you know.
Yeah.
So going outside, taking a cup of coffee, sitting
Mm.
on the beach, and taking in like beautiful, good, clean, fresh air.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, is really good for you as well. But then if I, you know, feel motivated enough, I'll build that up. You know, health and HIV is seriously important. It's seriously important because the more healthy you are physically and mentally, the better that you can manage your HIV, whether you are symptomatic with it or not. You know, I was talking to someone, Lou,
Yeah.
recently actually, was with HIV. He
Yeah.
had no symptoms at the beginning before he
Mm.
started this. He has no side effects.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it doesn't exist for him.
Doesn't absolute. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, when you live with HIV,
Mm.
to my knowledge to this day, don't set unachievable goals.
Yeah.
Do set goals
Yeah.
that are in support of your physical health. And that is
Yeah.
gentle exercise, fresh air. And for me, this in a good place means
Yeah.
this is in a good place. And that is something that I really liked about your message, and your channel, is that what you do is you don't promote yourself as living with HIV to an extent. What you do say is that you deliver your learnings, which is these are the things that work for me. It's that whole lived experience. And hey presto, look how successful you are, because what you do, the way that you talk, your journey is your lived experience. And people seem to connect with that. I certainly do with you. And the health side, it was so good. That's why it's so good to connect with you, because you know, the physical health side, the mental health. And when I see your videos where you're doing like leg day, arm day, you know, and then you did this breakfast thing, right, the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, that looks fucking lovely.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
I've got to try that, you know. But isn't that the great thing, Lou? Do you not find about
Yeah.
when you learn
Yeah.
your HIV and when you start that journey of coming home to yourself, it's like you don't want to go say to the world, hey, look at me. It's not about that.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
about going, I'm self-embracing, and maybe someone else might want to recognize that and it will help them. What do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely spot on, like 100% spot on. And it, with or without HIV, it all stems from your mental health, your emotional health. That's where it all starts from. And I really love what you've said there about it's taking those small steps and it's doing things that feel comfortable with you. Because you've got to eat this way, you've got to exercise that way, you've got to look that way, you've got to be this way. And actually,
That's
look,
social media for you, right?
yeah, this is what I mean, you know, and basically judgment. That's my favourite word, and dissecting judgment. Those judgments and those self-judgments, and what people will say about us. So once you start working on your mental health, you're absolutely correct. Everything falls in line, and it's about not putting too much pressure on yourself. It's
I
doing
mean,
things.
totally. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm conscious that I don't want to come across here as like some angelic, my life perfect and wonderful, and all the rest of it outwardly. Like, I'm not about that. I
yeah,
like, I like imperfection in people.
yeah, yeah,
I like the life's dirge and challenge, and it's.
yeah, yeah,
But don't get me wrong. Excuse my language, but getting my ass off that sofa right there in the last 2 years,
yeah,
just to get outside and get on and to get a bit of fresh air.
yeah,
It ain't been easy. And I mean, it really hasn't been easy. So when we talk
yeah,
about, do some gentle exercise, you've got to do
yeah,
this. You make it all sound so achievable. And for anyone watching this, I think it's
yeah,
really important that you and I really acknowledge that
yeah,
even getting out the front door for some people is the biggest challenge of the day,
yeah,
even the day that
yeah.
they spend. And it ain't easy. But what I can say is that when you do these things and you make these mini milestones and achievements,
Yeah,
even if you still come back to a place where you're not wholeheartedly comfortable with you physically or mentally, it's
yeah,
still a very positive move for you to do.
absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, listen. So, on that note, if last question for me, if there was somebody watching this, Mark, right, and they just found out they had HIV, what would your message be?
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah,
Everything's going to be okay. It
yeah,
really will. It really will.
yeah. It will, won't it?
No matter what circumstance you have, whatever you and your world looks like,
It will be all right.
everyone's different. Everyone's unique.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
has challenges. Everyone's challenges are relative to them.
yeah,
And if you have just learned that you're living with HIV,
yeah.
your circumstance, how dark that is or how bright that is,
Mm,
everything is going to be okay.
I
Yet,
love that.
HIV does require your participation.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Everything's going to be okay. And I'm just going to add one more thing, and you're not alone. Because
Yes.
it can be a really lonely place, but you're not alone and it will be okay.
Gonna make me cry. In the last 2 years,
Yeah,
there were points where I never felt so alone.
yeah,
I've never been, without people yet.
yeah,
My advice to the newly diagnosed, in whatever
yeah,
circumstance you are, two things: everything's going to be okay. And
yeah,
my friend Lou said, "You're not alone."
yeah. You're not alone. Coming home to yourself.
Totally.
Right. I'm going to end here, but stay on the line. I'm going to end the recording, but stay on the line. But I just wanted to say, I want to say to you before we go, I bow to the divine in you. I think you're an amazing individual, and I'm so glad we've met.
I feel the same way. The feelings are entirely mutual, trust me. Thank you, Lou. And thank you
Love
for
you
the
lots.
opportunity. I love you lots too, mate.
Okay.